Hi everyone, today I'm talking about why I might buy Boeing stock in the next coming weeks, maybe days, we'll see what happens. But this has really come on over the last few days because there's been a bit of a market sell-off. We're down about 3% because of the China trade war, and the news coming out that basically when we thought this was a done deal and the China trade war would kind of come to a halt, it seems like things are heating up a little bit again. It looks like there might be no deal. Tariffs are on about coming back, and Boeing is one of those companies that has a bit of revenue coming in from China, and they have been affected by it. Now, obviously, Boeing has had a rough earlier year because of the Max 8 crashes that have happened, and that's also brought the stock down. And I believe that when the Max 8 crashes happened, they would have actually brought the stock down a little bit more than what it has. I thought that'd bring it about down to 350, and because of the not being a China trade deal, I thought that stock would bring the Boeing stock down to about 330ish. So it's starting to open up a little bit of a buying opportunity in a few of these stocks now, and at the moment Boeing is the one that's catching my eye the most. But you never know, over the next few days there might be opportunities to get in some other stocks, or maybe add into some positions that I already have, like Visa, Microsoft. But Boeing is a stock that I'm not currently in, and I normally try buy or add shares into a company about every month really. So I've not added any in yet, and Boeing is kind of one that I'm looking at very closely. And as always, I try and update you with what I'm thinking about what's going on in the stock market. So Boeing itself, like I say, it's at a big discount due to the Max 8 and the China trade war. That's pulled it back slightly to about 350ish. Like I say, I believe that it should be down to about 330ish. That's where I think the stock should have gone down to. And also 330 is historically been a little bit of support for Boeing over the last kind of year. Also right now, because of what's happened, it's also pushed Boeing under its 200-day moving average, which is obviously a big support for the company. Obviously that will cause a little bit of resistance to get past that point. Now, even though I'm talking about Boeing from a long-term kind of hold, we're talking 1 to 5 years, it always good to know a little bit of technical stuff about the stock. So we always get a good entry point in, and we're near the bottom of the stock. And even though you can never time the market, so you get right down at the bottom of night, right down and sell out near the top of the stock, it's very hard to do, but it's always good to try and do the best you can so you make that maximum profit. So if we get a good entry point near the bottom and we sell near the top, you see that nice little gap there, you buy low down, you sell near the top. It doesn't have to be right down at the bottom, but somewhere in that green box, and like I say, on that red area where you sell, it just has to be somewhere in that box, and you'll have a nice little return. So even though we're talking 1 to 5 years down the line, you do have to know when it's near kind of where the bargain is and where a point is to sell in the stock, so you make that money. Because after all, when you invest in the stock market, you're investing to make money. That's the whole point of it. So it's at a good price right now. Boeing itself is a market leader, great company. Obviously, it's stolen a lot of market share over the last kind of 5 years from Airbus, but obviously the Max 8 crash is going to affect that slightly. A couple of sales have started to go a bit of Airbus's way. Even though it's a market leader, a great company, it's always going to be around because at the moment flights are always increasing year on year. It does have a little bit more of a threat because of China having its own airline manufacturer coming into business, and that potentially could take some of that China market share. But apart from that, it's a market leader. It does have a little bit of a threat coming in. Obviously, the Airbus kind of side of it taking a few deals because of the Max 8 crashes. But even so, Boeing is a great company, and I believe that over the long term, because of the variety and the quality of planes it has, it probably will recover against Airbus in the long term. It's at a low PE right now, so it's about 20 PE. And when we look at Boeing, over the last kind of like few years, it's been trading more at like a 30 PE. So for it to be about a 20 PE, I think the forward PE is down towards like the 16 PE range. Now, obviously that can be affected because obviously there's going to be the kind of implications because the Max 8 crashes. There's probably going to be a little bit of money they've paid out for that. We don't 100% know what that's going to be because that'll be more into the Q2 earnings when we find out the details. Obviously, they're going to have to pay out a few people because of the crash. So obviously, the earnings per share might get affected slightly, the revenue might get affected slightly, but it's still, that's just a one-time hit, hopefully, unless something else happens down the line. dividend growth, it's a great dividend play. Even if the stock goes up huge in 1 year, if it doesn't and you have to hold the stock for even longer, towards the 5-year range, you've got a nice dividend coming in from this company as well, and the growth of that dividend's always pretty good. Like I say, we're at a good entry point right now. I believe we're kind of getting to this stage of the Boeing cycle, and that'll leave us to sell somewhere higher up. Now, that point for higher up for me is that I'd look to sell out at Boeing about 425 to 450. So I always set a year target on the stock, and that's where I'd sell out of the stock. Sometimes I can change that, and sometimes I'll end up holding it for longer if I want to hold the company for even longer because my target goes up. Key example, Microsoft. I think I'll probably hold that into 2020. But like for Boeing, for me, I believe that stock should be going towards the 425 range to the 450 range in 12 months. So for me, that's the point where I would sell out at. That would give to a 20 to 30% upside of right now. Obviously, I'm kind of looking, hopefully Boeing will drop to $330 per share, and that'll actually give a 40% upside if I was to sell out at 450-ish. So yeah, there's potential. I don't really want to invest in a long-term hold to only get a 20% return. When I invest into a stock for a long-term hold, my kind of figure is 30% or more. So for me, like I said, if I was to invest in Boeing right now, I'd probably sell it out at 450-ish. If the stock was to drop down to 330-ish, then I'd be more flexible and might sell towards 425 range. But overall, I believe this stock's a bit undervalued right now, and depending on what happens over the next few days, depending on the China trade war, some more details about the Max 8 payout that might happen. We know that they've just got a court team in place to deal with all that. But over the next few days, I am watching the stock closely, and there's a little bit of it. If this stock goes down 10% more, then that's where I'll be entering for sure. But if it stays this price, I'll consider it. But overall, I don't think Boeing's going to recover to this price any time over the next 6 months, really. So I do believe I'll have a while to think about it because I don't believe it'll shoot up for another 6 months. So like I say, I'm updating you now because it is one stock that I'm watching, and I know people like to see which stocks I'm looking at. So I thought I'd update you just to say I'm looking at Boeing stock, and just give some information why I'm looking at Boeing stock, and maybe that interests you to have a look at Boeing stock and maybe consider investing into it. If you are looking into Boeing stock, I hope this video helped you, or if you were looking for a little bit of stock news, I hope this video helped you. Thanks for watching the video. The channel's been absolutely amazing so far this year. We've just breaking past the 250 subscriber mark, which is fantastic. So thank you for all that support. I'm really happy to get there. If we could get to like 300 by the end of the year, that'd be absolutely amazing. So that's kind of a little target that I've set myself. If we can get there, that'd be amazing. So thank you for all that support, and I'll see you on the next video.